Gentlemen, it's been a minute. My last real video was about 3 months ago, and then since then I've been on a small mental vacation. Soul searching. Well, I'm procrastinating. But that's not important. Rent is due, and I have a game to share with you in the meantime. Listen, when it comes to picking and choosing games to play, I'm extremely picky. Like a child, unwilling to try the well-prepared homemade meal my loving mother just cooked, instead eating the regular serving of nuggets and fries. Why risk something that you might like when you could stay with something you know, what you're comfortable with? Unfortunately, the taste will eventually become stale, dry, and repetitive. But that's all I've ever known. Car games, tactical shooters, horribly jank simulators. My comfy corner of the gaming world has become tasteless, unenjoyable. It's time to try something new. But what? There's so many choices out there, so many different genres and styles that are all foreign to me. I don't even know where to begin. Luckily, a friend heard my conundrum and gifted me an answer. Omensight. Omensight is a top-down RPG with a murder mystery plot, and I like a good mystery. Omensight was developed by Spearhead Games, a small Canadian indie studio opened in 2012. They have made other games such as Tiny Brains, Arena Cyber Evolution, and Stories The Path of Destinies, which Omensight is a loose sequel of. Omensight itself released on May 15th, 2018 and received sort of a jumbled bag of reviews, but was still revered as a fairly good game. As an outsider completely foreign to these types of games, I consider it a solid 9 out of 10, a welcoming introduction to a fairly new style of games, at least to me. But what is Omensight? What is it about? Mild spoiler warning. Omensight takes place in the fictional world of Euralia, during a long-standing war between the Pagarians, a largely predator-based empire, and the Rodentians. I don't think I need to explain what Rodentian fighters are made up of. You play as the Harbinger. Like parents during a GTA loading screen, a Harbinger only shows up during the worst of moments. Voden, a world-eating god, has been released from his spiritual prison, and is on a raging path of destruction. The only way of stopping Voden is by entrapping him once again. But there's a problem. The only way to imprison him is Cladden, a sword wielded by the god warrior Yarbok. The sword, however, is missing. That's not all. You also need the help of the godless priestess Vera to imprison Voden within the sword. And, well, she's dead. Murder. And it's up to us to discover by who and why.
And I am probably the greatest detective in the world.
By absorbing the memories of the recently deceased, we can relive the day, following said characters and collecting clues, looking for a big break in our case, called Omensights. These Omensights can be shown to the characters at the beginning of the day again, which may lead to discovering more clues. There are 4 characters you'll follow throughout your playthrough. Radika, the witty and sassy leader of the Rodentian army. Ludimir, a drunken Rodentian soldier hell-bent on avenging Vera's death. Emperor Indrig, the fearless, soulless leader of the Pagarians. And Draga, a high-ranking general within the Pagarian army. Some might say it's furry bait. I'd say it's working. The Harbinger holds no enemy, no ill will, no morals at all. You'll find yourself fighting Pagarians one day, Rodentians the next, fighting alongside one character only to slaughter them on the next playthrough. To the Harbinger, the only thing that matters is solving the mystery. But the truth isn't quite as it seems. Each of these characters will have insight into the mystery, intertwining and interacting with each other in various ways, providing insight to the plot that leads to the destruction of the world. Well, it's too late now. The writing in this game is extremely good. Yeah, it has plot holes, and some of it sort of hits you over the head in an attempt to move the story along. But for the majority of the story, it provides just enough context clues to keep you guessing, but doesn't outright tell you anything, so the reveal feels rewarding. But it also doesn't have a problem pulling the rug on you in order to throw you off the trail, which I consider a good thing. There are 2 endings to this game, depending on how well you solve the mystery. However, it's less about finding clues and collecting evidence, and more about taking every path possible. When you start the game, you're given the option to see what clues you have discovered, but I recommend leaving it off for your first playthrough, and exploring separate paths on your own accord. It's much more interesting that way. Gameplay is very simple. The game recommends a controller, and so do I. Hit X for light attacks, Y for heavy attacks, B to dodge, and A to jump. You can combo these things all together to get strings of attacks that deal more damage. The player automatically targets the closest enemy. Note, Closest. If you aren't close to one, you'll be swinging around in the middle of nowhere like an idiot. Which I am. There's also unlockable special attacks which can be charged by attacking enemies. These range from energy blasts, heavy attacks, and my personal favorite, the flurry attack. Oh my god! There are also attacks independent from energy, instead recharging over time. Delay of Fate, which slows down time within a certain area, great for laying down hate on big enemies. Phantom Dash, to quickly move through the arena, which can also cause damage to enemies you run through when your level is high enough. And Phantom Grasp, where you can grab, then throw enemies to your companion for a team kill. Grab can also steal health from enemies in higher levels. Alternatively, you can grab objects around you to throw at enemies to stun them, or blow them up. The camera leaves a little bit to be desired. It's locked at a certain perspectives with only a little bit of give, so it's easy to lose track of yourself or enemies, which can get a bit annoying when you're dealing with a heavy-hitting boss that likes to move around a lot, or a large group of enemies that are easy to get lost in. This could also just be a me thing, since I'm not used to these style of games, but I'm gonna complain about it anyways. When you're back in your hub, you can use the XP gained from the day to unlock and upgrade the Harbinger. You can also use Amber to then upgrade attacks, damage, health, and recharge times for both you and your companions. Each of your companions have special moves you can trigger and recharge over time. Ludimir has a ground pound, Draga a fire blast, Radica gives the player a dash, and Indrig nothing. Because he's a greedy little There are 3 different enemies you'll have to fight: Redentians, Pegarians, and Ciphers. Each faction has base fighters that are relatively the same, but will start to diversify as you progress through the story, which helps keep things mixed up so you aren't just button mashing against the same enemies. And have to develop a method for each faction and its unique enemies. The boss fights for each character are also different from one another, so one method for beating one character won't be nearly as efficient for another, which is extremely refreshing. I made the complaint in the Mad Max video that having only one style of boss fight across all of your boss characters just makes them another class of boring enemy. So by making each style unique, it also keeps the character itself unique. Like how Indrik has this force field that activates after every hit, yet this stupid bear keeps throwing rocks at him, so I can't get a hit in, you f***ing idiot! Omensight does suffer the same fate as any other story-driven mystery game. No replayability. Once you solve the mystery and save the day, there's really no drive pushing you to create a new save and do it all over again. It's unfortunate, because I really do adore the writing and the characters of Omensight, but it's all spoiled to me now. It's LA Noire all over again. A great game with no replayability, simply a victim of its own design. That's not really a bad thing. In a day and age of live service games with content on an IV drip, a humble little game that plays out like a good book is nice to the soul. Sure, it's not as rewarding reading it a second time, but it's that first time experience with a story that leaves an impression. The kind I'd leave on display on my bookshelf. Not to read it again, but just to reflect. 9 out of 10. More Draga, please. I didn't reference Groundhog Day at all in this video, and you won't either. If you do, you'll be the Harbinger's next mystery. Thank you, Avis, for sending me this game. Thank you to the fans who've stuck around through my silence. The Patreon and channel members still supporting me, even though the content has been light. And thank you, Charles Simmons, for sending me a new graphics card when mine bit the dust. We have a whole year ahead of us. Let's make it ours. We're only 15,467,000 subscribers away from surpassing Quibblecup. If we keep on this path, we should get ahead in about 2 to 3 weeks. 10 years from now.